Welcome to Wilmington, North Carolina, part of Next Gen Network's coverage of 2012 College Easterns. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien. We have a little bit of a drizzle starting out outside, some windy earlier. We had a great game, though, with Tufts over North Carolina, and now we're looking forward to Central Florida facing off versus North Carolina Wilmington, the home team.
You know, I think everyone should really be excited. Well, I'm excited to see Central Florida play. This is a team that is relatively new to the top level of college ultimate. They've got 18 returners this year. They've never been to nationals, and here they are playing on Next Gen Network. This is a breakout opportunity here for Central Florida, playing against, like you said, the home team, UNC Wilmington.
UNC Wilmington is led by Ring of Fire's Tommy Lamar, number 3 out in the field, as well as returning senior handler Dave McCurrick, been playing a big role. Also, Xavier Maxtat is an up-and-coming freshman for North Carolina Wilmington. And the big loss today for Central Florida is the absence of Miska Freistadter, the 6'8" giant cutter who is a matchup nightmare for almost anybody on the scene.
When you have a player that's that tall, it completely changes the field offensively and defensively. You know, you always say, you know, you can't coach height, and you say that because it's truly something that provides an advantage for your team that you always want. Even if that player, a lot of times you might have a tall player who isn't as skilled or maybe not quite as athletic, but just having that length on the field in a game like Ultimate totally changes the game. Yeah, that last game was a good one, Brian. I mean, we really saw a great performance from North Carolina, but I think the one thing that we saw that was one of the keys to the game late was teams being able to make the right adjustment at the right time. I'll be interested to see what what Wilmington comes out in this game does to disrupt the flow that Central Florida has been able to have so far in the season leading up to this point.
Taking over for the absence of Freistadter would be Michael Hickson, number 11, 6'5", senior. Also, Mike Ogren, 6'1", junior, has played a huge role in defense and led that squad. On the handling core, we have Quint Wharton, Matt Nations, and as well as John Best, playing a big role, and Jeremy Langdon, a 6'2" sophomore. UCF is filled with up-and-coming players. North Carolina on the other side, really going to rely on Dave McCurrick, Tommy Lamar to get the job done. They're going to run a lot of tight lines. They have a lot of youth, and some good youth, like we said, Xavier Maxtat. And really coming in this game was actually incorrect earlier. It looks like UNCW is ranked 10th in the nation, and UCF is ranked 13th. This is another game having big implications in the rankings. And North Carolina did their job for the Atlantic Coast region. UNC Wilmington has to return the favor if the Atlantic Coast wants to get 2 strength bids.
UNCW in the white, Central Florida in the dark, Central Florida to pull.
Ogren with the pull. McCurrick. McCurrick has a lot of respect from around the AC region. Gave Virginia a little bit of fits last year. Big bid early on by Langdon. North Carolina and Wilmington moving it smoothly. Looking back. Play restarting now after a stoppage. Looks like we see a vertical stack with 2 handlers back, now clearing, finding McCurrick. Lamar trying to break through, forces the throw, and fights through the foul for the early goal.
That's a great fundamental play there for UNCW. A lot of times when you know you're going to get fouled, an inexperienced player will say foul and then not try to complete the throw. An experienced player will know he's going to get fouled, make the throw, then call foul. That was actually a pretty dirty play there for Central Florida. North Carolina, UNC Wilmington didn't really look challenged there offensively. They kind of got whatever they wanted downfield. UCF is definitely going to have to, I don't want to say step it up or make adjustments, but they just need to play defense. That was not an excellent set for them defensively on the first play.
Interesting to see UCF coming down now. This is a team that's been on video, and I want to see if there have been adjustments made because they are relatively one-dimensional. They rely on the talent of their players and the scheme and just knowledge of one scheme, and they will take anything up the force sideline. They don't care about breaking you. They don't care about working the break side or reversing fields. They'll usually let Freistatter go deep, but with him absent, see if they can make an adjustment. Wilmington coming out in a zone with a two-man cup around. They love to employ this look. Now with three men coming in. Just two men around the mark. UCF switching around best.
Central Florida doing a good job just taking the easy pass. That's all it really takes. In a zone, someone's going to be open. You just have to wait for them to be open and make the easy throw.
Right now, that's what they're doing is they're working it through. Quick movement so far.
I also like that I see them constantly changing the angle of attack. That's another key to beating a zone is you have to keep that disc moving. The easiest time to beat a zone is when the zone is actually making adjustments.
Turnover. UNC Wilmington able to come out and get the first chance for a break. Looking up the line for Maxtat, making the grab, and Maxtat unleashing the backhand. Going out of bounds.
I think it was the right throw. A lot of time when you're catching the disc upline, definitely look downfield. However, just poor execution. His man had space, and whether it's the wind getting a hold of it or just not enough experience throwing that throw in that situation, wasn't able to make the throw.
Nations. Thinking back to Nations 43, really the glue that holds this handling line together.
Wilmington sticking to the zone defense. I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon here they dropped into man. If you stay in that zone for too long, the offense is going to be able to pick it apart.
Moving it around still. A foul on the play. Wilmington known for their physical defense. North Carolina in general, college ultimate, is very physical. North Carolina, Wilmington, NC State. Finding the man with the breaks, give and go, just along the goal line. Looking around, Wilmington try to force UCF, but they find the open man. Ties this game at 1.
And that's what I'm talking about. UNC Wilmington simply just gave them too many opportunities to look at the exact same zone. When you do that, eventually they're going to be able to pick it apart. You know, but on the other hand, they got what they wanted. They were able to generate a turnover. And so successful trip to North Carolina. But that's what I'm talking about is the adjustments that you make midpoint are the adjustments that are going to allow you to have more opportunities for Ds.
Right now, UNCW choosing to counteract UCF's strategy of working up the four side by just throwing that zone. it may result in some easy goals for Central Florida when they work it up. But in the end, if a team is so used to just doing it one way, we talked about this earlier, it's important to get them out of their comfort zone and work on their weakness.
Yeah, it's obvious to me that North Carolina Wilmington has studied those game tapes. They've seen UCF just working up the open sign with their athletes. When you play zone, you're making the other team try to beat you with their throws rather than with their athleticism. I like the initial look from UNC Wilmington defensively, but again, they need to make those adjustments midpoint if they want to continue to have success.
Lamar, centerpiece of this Wilmington offense. Thrown behind the receiver, able to pick it up. In traffic, big collision there, and it looks like we're going to have an injury on the field.
Yeah, physical play from both teams. You know, not dirty, but that's just something that's going to happen when you're putting everything into your cut, when you're putting everything into your D. Things like that are just going to happen. UNC Wilmington so far has been running a lot of horizontal offense, a lot of space downfield, and I've actually seen the Central Florida Cutters not anticipating very well. They've actually just been sort of water skiing or just trailing their man a little bit, and that's what's allowed UNCW to get those easy gainers.
Hickson lined up on Lamar. It'll be a big matchup. Hickson with Lamar overthrown behind the receiver. Picked up by UCF. Finding Hickson.
Hickson is a monster. I mean, you look at him, 6'5", Brian, you said? He's huge.
He has the luxury of matching up with Freistatter in practice, 6'8" versus 6'5". A lot of physicality there. Moved upfield. Ogren. Up the line. I think Ogren, Hickson. Now taking advantage of the break side. Flip to Reedy. Timeout called by UCF.
Yeah, Hickson took advantage of the break side by taking advantage of his length. When you're that tall, you can essentially operate sometimes like there isn't even a mark out there. And Hickson needs to take advantage of that throughout the course of this game.
And we're to go to commercial. This is Next Gen Network's coverage of 2012 College Easterns here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we're back in Wilmington, North Carolina, 2012 College Easterns. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien, watching Central Florida and UNC Wilmington battle it out, tied at 1, coming out of a timeout.
So far, it's been pretty physical out there for both sides. Couple collisions happening, you know, some physical marks. It's gonna definitely lead to an exciting game.
Hickson, Reedy, and Wilmington still in this zone, despite towards the end zone. Poaching off, switching in the man. You see Lamar in the middle communicating with the rest of his defense. Reedy working the break side. To Hickson. There's an open man in the back of the end zone. Wilmington not even paying attention, but neither is anybody on Central Florida.
If you're wondering what they're doing out there, it's a 2-3-2 zone. The front two defenders for UNC Wilmington are marking up whenever someone has the disc. Then there's a wall of 3 defenders behind them, and then actually 2 defenders sitting behind that wall of 3, taking away any throws over the top. So what they're giving up there is they're usually giving up a free swing pass, but what they're taking away is anything downfield.
Argument here with a foul on the call on the play. Coming in on 0. Observer upholds the foul. Hickson putting it to space. So much lateral movement, not much available upfield. North Carolina Wilmington doing a great job of switching so far. A lot of times it's just a matter of time. Stoppage on the play.
You know, I'm very impressed from what I'm seeing on both sides of the ball right now. UCF not forcing throws, and UNC Wilmington continuing to close the gaps downfield.
Ogren fitting it in tight, giving UCF a 2-1 lead over UNCW.
Yeah, nice throw there. Found him with the inside-out backhand. He's going to see a cutter coming across the middle, and unfortunately for good defense, a lot of times a great throw beats even good defense. (2-1) here for Central Florida. And so far, we've seen all zone from UNCW. UNCW's definitely making Central Florida throw a lot of passes, but the experience, the 18 returners are really showing right now for Central Florida. They're not getting nervous. They're staying composed. They're making the right throw at the right time, and they've scored 2 goals already.
Ogren with a pull, blade flick pull. Picked up a McCurrick to Maxstat. Central Florida coming out with a zone as well. Some tall men in that cup. Maxstat playing big minutes. Freshman fitting it through. Out to space, Lamar just overthrown, and UCF has a turnover. Put out deep, a man is there. Hammer caught for the score. UCF rolling early, 3-1.
You know, that's the second hammer from that area in the field that we've seen going diagonal across the field. It's actually not that difficult of a throw. When you have the wind, it's actually helping you out and pushing on the bottom side of the disc, helping it blade and making it not hang up in the air. Receiver goes and makes a great play, but also a very impressive throw.
Timeout called by Wilmington. Don't want to let this lead grow too big. It's important that Wilmington stay close here in order to get that strength bid.
Yeah, a lot on the line everywhere in the tournament. We've got teams, especially in this point in the season, are fighting for strength bids for their region.
We have our first upset of the tournament. We have Georgia falling to Michigan in Pool D, losing 13-11. And we reported that Illinois beat Florida. In fact, it beat them 14-8.
Central Florida looks they look the right balance between composed and also fired up for this game. Really liking what I see from Central Florida.
Ogren getting set to pull. Ooh.
So far, Central Florida's defense has actually been able to overpower UNC Williams' defense. And that physicality that we talked about earlier so far is going in the direction of Central Florida.
We have Ogren getting set to pull. We have Hickson out in the field. Daniel Jacob as well. Central Florida team on the up and up. Coach Andrew Roca here today, former UCF player. And that pole is going to be, Ogren's going to want that pole back. Wilmington getting a short field to work with.
Yeah, I think the value of a good pull is underestimated in Ultimate. A lot of times, if you can start the other team back deep, obviously it's going to be harder for them to score, but here's why, is it makes them have to throw more passes to get to a goal. It sounds crazy, but it's not that crazy. You make the team go farther, you have more opportunities to generate a D.
North Carolina, Wilmington trying to get something going, forced to go high to Lamar. Second time we've seen him do that. This time Lamar comes down with it, puts a hammer to space, underthrown. Call on the play.
Skilled throw there over the top from UNCW.
Play starts, Lamar upfield. McCurrick is now downfield, usually normally handling. Put out the space to Lamar. Is going to have a huge game for them to do well.
This is a tough spot to score from if you're UNCW. You're forced sideline. The defense knows exactly where the cuts have to go. In order to get a goal right here, you're either going to have to break the mark or change the angle of attack.
Discussion is still going on and play about to be restarted. Lamar looking around, dishes for the score. Wilmington back in this game, 3-2 Central Florida leads.
It's tough to score unless someone blows an assignment, and that was just simply a blown defensive assignment. You're forced sideline. You have to know that you can't get beat to that near side cone.
Also on the field there for Wilmington, we have Luke Hancock, 10, freshman, part of that youth with Xavier Maxtat. Junior Worlds tried out last weekend for the squad. And we're seeing this more and more in college ultimate. A lot of Junior Worlds players coming in, a lot of high school experience. And we're seeing players that don't need those 3 years to develop. They can come in and make a difference right away.
It shows me that ultimate is the most important factor in ultimate is experience. It's a high-level, meaningful experience. That experience can be in high school. If you're playing at a high level for even a couple years in high school, you're going to eliminate all those mistakes and all those, that difficult learning curve of your first 2 years of college. If you play at a high level in high school, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to come in and have a huge impact on your team as a freshman. And there's a crazy amount of freshmen that are good already this year. We're talking Aaron Hahn for Oregon. I know Pittsburgh has, 5 freshmen starting right now. Youth Ultimate is growing right now, and it's changing the way that rosters look at the college division, and eventually it's going to start changing at the club level as well.
Wilmington sticking with the zone defense. Hammer breaking the zone, finding Nations. Big bid. Caught by Best.
Look has changed a little bit from UNC Wilmington. They started off in a zone. Then once it got to a sideline, they put on a trap, and now they've transitioned into man.
And an overthrow there by Langdon, giving Wilmington a bit of life. Early on, it looked like this was Central Florida's game, and things have settled down a little bit. Some timeouts and some adjustments have been made. Big throw to space.
Excellent break throw.
Looking around, surveying the field, nothing much available. Now overthrown, and we're seeing a little bit of sloppy play, and the wind looks like it's contributing to that.
And I actually think that the player was actually a little bit confused about the sideline as well. You could actually see him trying to toe the white line when actually the out-of-bounds line is the yellow line that you can see there with the tape.
Best Doing a bit of give and go. Vertical stack for UCF. Finding Nations up the line. Lamar with a big bid. They still love to squeeze it up. Langdon trapped against the line. UCF is used to the situation. Looking to break through the mark. Runs through a bit of collision there.
I tell you what, that's an offensive foul. The mark was perfectly still. You're going to watch him step right into the mark and try to draw the foul. That's an offensive foul. I hope the observer is able to rule this one in favor of the defense. See the observer explaining the situation to the offensive player. Looks like Central Florida trying to take advantage of physicality so far in every aspect of the game, whether it's making bids, whether it's being tall, or whether it's stepping through the mark. And you could see on that one, I don't know if we'll get a look at it again, but you'll see that the player was actually in legal defensive position. You know, he gave him disc space. He was in a great position. The offensive player stepped into him to draw the contact, which can be a good strategy, but if you do it the wrong way, it's cheating.
Not sure. It's still taking a long time to discuss this, figure out what's going on. Observers on the field, we have Kevin Shoemaker and Caitlin Baden. At this point, there has to be a call made on the field. Looks like a foul. There was no foul. They're talking about the count. Otherwise, it'd be coming in 0. Flipped up. Not in.
Here we go again. Another discussion coming. It looks like it. You could hear it from up here in the booth. It looks like it was coming in at stall 7 or stall 8. And that looked like a stall call, but observers ruling that they got it off. Still Central Florida's disc.
Best flipping it up. Getting the score, Central Florida leading 4-2. Red zone for UCF. 4 attempts, 3 completions so far. Red zone efficiency been a big deal for them. It looks like we have, is it another timeout on the field or just players gathering? Tully Betty, one of the coaches for UNCW. Doesn't look like there is a timeout on the field, just a lot of stoppage time between points, a lot of explanations on what the rules are. Ultimate, the game where everybody knows the rules and nobody's read them.
And also they need to be more explicit. When they make a call, they need to make an obvious signal. Like it needs to be super obvious. Hotel, please.
They get started off in Wilmington. We'll start off with the short pole, finding Lamar, initiating the first cut. Lamar again matched up against Hickson. And covered along the sideline.
UNCW able to find lots of space downfield using their horizontal stack.
The space, and UCF defender was there, but Wilmington comes up with it.
Yeah, a pretty good throw there in a tight spot.
Robert Ballantyne for UCF, the defender giving chase. Coming oh so close to a D.
Again there, you can tell that UCF actually knows its forte. They know they can physically dominate. But what they're not doing is they're not anticipating anything out there on defensively. You can be as fast and athletic as you want, but if you're not explicit and intentional about what you're taking away, the offense is still going to get whatever they want. Defensively, Central Florida's got to do a better job of anticipating what the offense is going to do, knowing what they're taking away, and then simply just doing their job. You can't take away everything. You have to take away one thing and allow that to create an opportunity for your defense.
Central Florida still holding without their superstar player, Miska Freistadter. So far proving in their pool that they are still the real deal after warm-up.
Yeah, these guys look legit. I mean, you look at their team, they look like a good ultimate team. They passed the eye test as we were talking about earlier. You look at them, they're athletic. You watch them warm up, you can see they all have skills. They have the swagger of a high-level team. They look confident. They look composed. Central Florida looking very strong.
Best two-man cup set up again. I couldn't really call it a cup. Two-man mark now forcing Valentine upfield. Finding Langdon, quick movement. Still forcing them upfield. Kind of letting UCF crash inside this almost pseudo four-man cup that's occurring.
Yeah, they've got a couple people in the backfield forcing downfield, and then that's causing that. What they've got is the wings coming up and forcing everything backfield. And what it does is, yeah, the only way you can beat it so far is what Central Florida's been doing is by crashing.
Swung around, Best. John Best has been an integral part of this handling line. Seeing Nations downfield at warm-up, we saw Nations most of the time back. So making adjustments throughout the season. Wilmington zone successfully pushing Central Florida back.
Yeah, Wilmington's zone looks great. They're taking away all the options downfield. They're only allowing lateral movement.
And this is what Wilmington's known for, is that they play in these winds. Last year, regionals was here for the Atlantic Coast. It's not going to be in Wilmington this year, which is going to be a big role, but Wilmington loves the wind. It is known for being windy here all year long. They're experienced with zone. They'll run it anyway. Great opportunity for a D there. Not sure the defender got a hand on it. Nonetheless, turnover, and Wilmington can tie this game up.
You know, and that was a situation previously on the opposite sideline when they got trapped. They did a good job just sort of popping in there. This time, no one popped in there. Offensive player had to make a tough decision to throw a cross-field break throw. Resulted in a turnover.
Finding a cutter. Defensive assignment blown there. Finding Lamar, and that's Lamar's third point he's been involved on this game to tie the game at 4, and a big possession there for Wilmington.
Yeah, great offense. Just beating your man offensively downfield. I tell you what, UNCW is scoring easy goals. Most of their possessions have been gainers of 15 to 20 yards relatively easily. Compare that to UCF, who's having to work for every single inch of the field.
And that's what Wilmington is relying on, is the fact that UCF is showing a lot of talent here, but they don't have the experience. They don't have that experience program. They're coached by an alumni. Andrew Roca has done a great job so far. But you're talking about going up against Greg Vassar and Tully Beatty, who have club experience, who've been on Wilmington, been a part of this history of this program that had won national championships in the early 90s. There's something about knowing how to win that just helps out when it comes to late in the season and coming down to regionals when you need to perform in those games to go.
Yeah, when you have a coach who's been there, who's played at the highest level, who's also played at the college level, there's just so much information that can be passed on. And when your program has that history, it's a lot easier for players to learn it just simply because it gets passed on from year to year. But that's truly what UCF is up against this year. Is they're inexperienced, and this year will be critical in the development of their young players and establishing their program for years to come.
Best walking up to the brick mark.
So take a look at UNC Wilmington's zone here. You can see 2 defenders up near the mark. Then they've got another just hanging out behind the 2 markers, and that creates a wall of 3 defenders with 2 defenders sitting deep. It's making UCF throw over the top. It's making them only throw laterally, and it's truly dictating the play right now.
Talk so much about dictating, and right now, this game's tied, and Central Florida came out and got some turnovers, but I wouldn't say that they dictated the game. That Wilmington has been doing that, and right there, Lamar, not sure if he had the hand block being involved on the play. McCurrick picking up the disc. Now, squeezing it in, past the laying out defender, and Wilmington getting the score when needed to go up 5-4.
And another easy goal. When they're generating those turnovers, it's gainer, 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 goal.
Luke Hancock with the reception for the goal. Again, a freshman, tried out for Junior Worlds. If you like what we're doing here at Next Gen Network, we do have a tournament pass that gives access to our high-quality feed and video on demand of all the tournament's games that we are filming this weekend. Cost is $10, and it's available under the Tournament Pass menu bar on ngnultimate.com.
So, Brian, you've been following the national scene of Ultimate. There's a lot of good players at this tournament, a lot of good players around the nation. Any specific players in the Callahan watch that you're maybe excited to see at this tournament?
Excited to see at this tournament, and we've seen them before. It's Tyler DiGirolamo and Alex Thorne. And both of those players are playing great for Pittsburgh. Other than that, we're missing some of the studs that we like to see: Eric Johnson, Nick Lance, and Dylan Freechild. And there's definitely some guys that have some outside shots to make some noise. And a lot of it comes down to regionals. And if a player can blow up for this tournament, Jordan Jeffrey comes to mind of Stanford. We're going to see him later on. Ben Funk as well in Stanford. UCF now moving it quickly through the zone, a little bit reinvigorated. Best, but still only small movements. Langdon finding Best. Finding his own catch-up. Best forcing a hammer along the goal line, flips it for the score, and UCF ties this game at 5.
Yeah, UNCW sticking with the zone. And here's what's tough about playing zone. When you coach a zone, you have to explicitly communicate what types of goals you're okay with allowing. And even when they score, you have to be okay with it. For example, in this zone, if they throw an over-the-top pass or make a crazy throw and they score, it's easy to just get down on yourself and say, oh, the zone didn't work. No, the zone worked. You got the throw that you wanted to. It just turned out that they scored. So far, UNCW's zone has been effective. They've generated turnovers. They're sticking with it right now, but we'll see if they make adjustments either to that zone or going to man later in the half.
I think it's likely that we'll see Wilmington ride out this zone throughout the entirety of this game. They have really prepared that throughout the entire season to just, this is what we do, this is what we do well. We know we're going to give up some easy goals, like you said. Doesn't mean the zone is not working. It's just the nature of the beast.
You know, it's interesting how when you talk about zone versus man-to-man, is no one will ever say, oh, that man-to-man didn't work, we should never do that again. But it's for whatever reason, there is a belief like that about zone, and here we have a turnover.
Just a miscommunication, bad throw, decision-making by Wilmington.
Yep.
Reedy. Hickson on the sideline, finding his man, fitting in for the goal, and just like that, Central Florida's back on top, 6-5.
Watching Hickson play, I think this guy could be the difference between UCF being a good team and possibly a great team. When you have a player like that who can also come back to the disc and make break throws, it totally changes your team's ability to operate effectively as an offense.
Right now, we're looking at red zone efficiency, and we show UCF 5 for 7 in the red zone. And on the other side, keeping track of miscues, 5 miscues for UNC Wilmington to 3 for UCF. And really, we're not seeing a lot of Ds. We're seeing a lot of just throws into poaches. Wilmington, the unfortunate thing for them is that as this game goes on, as this tournament goes on, they are used to playing tighter lines. They have a lot of young players on the squad, a few returners, very good returners, but nonetheless, at Queen City Tune-Up, Wilmington beat Tufts 9-7. They made it to the finals to face Tufts again, and Wilmington just did not have the legs to keep up with the deeper Tufts team. And that's going to play a role in regionals, and that's why it's important for Wilmington and North Carolina. They're going to play again at sectionals. That's going to determine, there's going to be seeding determined at sectionals, conference play. And from there, that determines the schedule. And for a team that isn't very deep, schedule is incredibly important.
An excellent pull here. I don't know if you were able to see the whole thing, but what happened was actually a Blady flick pull that rolled out of bounds and rolled all the way up to the end zone line before it snuck out of bounds.
Max Stat, surrounded by 4 UCF players, looking for an option, finds his man, squeezes a backhand through. Lamar. Shifting around. Fitting an aisle forehand through the cup. Wow.
UCF getting pretty close to a double team down there on that handler. But yeah, like you said, Brian, sweet throws. Then we've got a lot of length up here on the mark on that forehand cup. If he takes a step off, there's no way that any of those break throws are getting off.
Again, just fitting it through these tight spaces. McCurrick. Maxed at. Over to Hancock. Lots of communication going on here. Maxed at again. Just fitting it through. And as you said, they're not taking a step off, and that's allowing for these break throws to go through the mark.
Yeah, they're getting these throws off. People on the sideline are excited about it, but meanwhile, they're losing yards.
And losing yards and forcing the amount of throws. And we have Jacob picking up the disc for UCF after the turnover.
That's a great defensive look from UCF. They earned this turnover.
Hickson finding Wharton. Quentin Wharton, a big piece of this offensive line. Well, not offensive line right now, but defense on the field. And a bump, intentional bump there by Wilmington. And Observer rightfully calls that a TMF.
That's dirty, Brian. I mean, and that's actually one thing that I see in the college game, and you just don't see that in the club game.
Yeah, there's a lot of play. North Carolina Ultimate known for its physicality, and anybody who's played them knows that this is the style of play that you're going to see. With Observers, it's going to change the game, and rightfully so. Best. Looking up to Wharton just outside the end zone. Foul call on the play.
Again, Central Florida here in a tough spot to score.
Play restarts. Wharton forcing it up the line. Does so to Best. Call on the play.
I think the defender is saying that he actually pushed off to get open. I actually think he just got beat, and he's trying to call a foul to bail himself out.
Didn't see the play here.
You're going to see number 33 just make a move, and number 23 from UNCW simply just got beat. It looks like the foul is going to be upheld, but a great cut by the handler.
Unfortunately, they have both observers looking at different parts of the field. Hard to see. Finding Best back. Over to Ogren. Jacob. Ogren. Finding a man up line, Wharton is there, 7-5, and Central Florida has gotten that lead back that they had earlier.
I love Central Florida's patience. You know, I said it before already, but for a team that has never played at nationals, these guys are composed.
I got to say, Central Florida is a team that I am a bit perplexed about. Not in this game because their talent is good. When they face a team, though, like Carleton or Wisconsin, I watch them at warm-up, and they love to do the same thing over and over again. And the only way that strategy works is if you do have the patience to execute. And they'll just sit there and throw it up the fourth side and wait for Miska Freistadter to get open deep and put it up for him. Or they'll just keep working it up the fourth sideline with no care. I've seen college teams get stymied by trying to just force it up that line and getting turnovers because they're not, and there's not much space available. UCF is kind of the exception to the rule. And I wonder how well they can do.
Yeah, when you've got the athletes, you don't need to change your style. The defense has to change to adjust to you, and that's truly one thing that athleticism does for you. Is it just says, all right, you guys know what we're gonna do. We're still gonna beat you.
Timeout on the field, and I think that might be the fourth timeout of this half, and that should clear away all our stoppages. Been a contentious first half.
It looks like, to me, we're seeing an obvious shift of power, at least in Florida, with regard to who the better team is. I don't think you could argue. There's no way, in fact, that you could argue that UCF is the better program, but certainly this year UCF is making a case as not only the best team in Florida, but certainly one of the top teams in the nation, especially considering in this game right now, missing one of their stars.
Yeah, and the implications for regionals is huge here. You got Wilmington going to face off against North Carolina, likely for that maybe one or two spots, depending on what goes on. That could be huge. If they only get one bid, that's going to make that region great. I plan on traveling to Southeast Regionals because I want to see if UCF can take down Florida. I want to see when it comes down to when it really matters. Here matters for rankings, and the regular season does matter. It matters what you're going through, but I can't declare Florida dead until I see it myself when regionals, when the dust settles from regionals.
Yeah, Southeast region is going to be awesome. I mean, you're talking about UCF, you've got Florida, and then you've got one of the best players in the nation, Nick Lance, leading the Georgia Tech squad.
Yeah, and then Georgia, even with Elliot Erickson, we're going to be able to see them later on. 4 teams competing for maybe even one spot. If it gets 2, then you kind of have that excitement of, do you play the hardest in the finals and try to go through in the backdoor game, or that's always perplexing on how to pick your battles and just try to stay fresh. McCurrick picking up for Wilmington. Putting it deep to Hancock, but going to be overthrown. Wynn just taking hold of this one and putting it out of bounds.
Central Florida, a chance to break for half.
Maybe Wilmington, they're just not wanting to give Central Florida the short field. Trying to play the upwind, downwind game.
I don't know. It's not windy enough out here to start punting. You got to maintain possession when you've got an opportunity.
As we say, that Lamar matched up with Hickson. Looks like some contact there. Hickson calling the foul.
Certainly going to have some discussion on this one.
Before we see the video, looked like to me it was a foul. Not sure from there. Maybe just clean. Hard to tell there. It could have been in and out of Hickson's hand. Foul is upheld by the observer. Play restarts and Hickson calls timeout. I'm not sure where these timeouts are coming from. I thought we were done for this half, but new rule at Eastern's unlimited timeouts. Either way, I mean, this is a critical possession for Central Florida. Come here, going up half, 8-5. and you really have that momentum. And Wilmington's tried to throw the zones at them. And I just don't know if we can see. It's going to take a major adjustment from Wilmington to get back in this game, or just poor execution by Central Florida to allow Wilmington to get in.
Yeah, if you're Wilmington right now, you're worried. You're thinking, okay, we went into this game. We're going to take away their athleticism. We're going to play zone. All right, now they beat your zone. So what's your adjustment? Go back to man? Oh, wait. 6'5" out there. It's going to do whatever he wants. This is a tough spot for UNCW right now.
Big stop here could mean a break, and they'd be going downwind. And right now, if that was a punt, it hadn't worked out for them because UCF has possession near the end zone. And not surprisingly, it looks like we're going to see a zone, or at least poaching, from North Carolina Wilmington. Play restarts. Hickson back to Jacob. Pushes off the mark. Foul called on the play.
Yeah, the mark got a little bit too close on there. Definitely a foul.
Jacob coming back to trying to fit it in. Dropped by Central Florida. Ogren trying to find his receiver.
Yeah, golden opportunity there. Golden opportunity there for UCF to capitalize and go into half. And at the same time, another opportunity here for UNCW to regain control of the game.
Foul call in the play. Find a receiver upfield. Poach was there, preventing any huck. McCurrick finding Lamar with a breakthrow out to space. McCurrick creating the space with his fakes around the mark. We have a call on the play. A lot of stoppages here. I think this favors Wilmington trying to get the rest they need because they need those top players to perform. McCurrick. And his man underneath.
Wilmington is routinely having open cutters underneath. Again, that was actually another wide open cut, just a poor throw. Wilmington's offensive efficiency has been excellent here in the first half.
Reedy there calling the foul early in the stall count. Call on the play. It's a good violation. Reedy putting out the space for Hickson. Lamar is there. Lamar with the catch for the Callahan.
The crowd goes wild. We've got a call on the play. I'm sure we'll get a look at this one. Excellent mark, forces a tough throw. Lamar comes up and makes a huge play over the middle. Looks like the offensive player might be calling a strip.
Jacob wasn't the one there, though. It looked like Hickson. It looks like he's arguing that he was impeded in his progress, perhaps.
Crowd expressing their discontent here.
It looked like Jacob was pushing the back on that replay and that, but it wouldn't have affected the play, so I think it should stand. And it does, and Wilmington. It's a huge break in this game. Maybe that's the momentum they need.
Central Florida obviously frustrated by that call. Very important that they maintain their composure. Go back to the line, say, no big deal. We're still in control. We're still winning. Offense, go do your thing. Central Florida coach having words with the observer. I don't know if it's discontent with the call or something else, but certainly quite a bit of discussion going on in this game on the field.
Central Florida's offensive line now going downwind with a chance to take half 8-6. Would have been 8-5 had Ogren been able to hit his man near the goal line. Hancock with the pull into the wind. Centered to Best. Finding Wharton over the top. Haitians, quick movement.
UNCW coming out in a man defense this time. So one of the first times we've seen man this half.
Towing the line is in Langdon. Best now, vertical stack. Nations pushing through. Getting up the line and trying to jump in. That one was a little bit late.
Crowd enjoyed that one.
Nations going with the push pass back. Now out of bounds. Looks like he was out of bounds in that play.
We're going to take a look at this. I think the players are a little bit confused. The yellow line is actually out of bounds. There is some tape down there, but if a player catches the disc on the yellow line, it is out of bounds. And that one was really, really close. Tough to tell.
I think the throw before the goal, well, the supposed goal was, I think the goal was good, and the throw before it was actually out of bounds. Confusing there, but Lamar trying to cut underneath. McCurrick finds him. Lamar lays out for the grab. Looking for the cut up field. Wilmington needs to take advantage of this blow, putting out an eye flick to space. McCurrick now stretching the field. Tipped in the air. Lamar giving chase, foul called on the play.
Once again, Wilmington just getting whatever they want. The UCF defenders are not anticipating. They're simply trying to stay close to their man defensively.
It's looking like for the UNC Cutters, W Cutters, that they're having times when they're just either too far or too close to the action to create effective space. Nonetheless, though, it looks like by just the Central Florida defense is not able to clamp down.
It's obvious that they don't have at least a good concept about what they're trying to take away. And it seems that they're all thinking, just stay close to my man, take away everything, do as much as I can. And that's not usually the best strategy defensively. It usually takes more of a concerted effort as a team to make opportunities for Ds.
Still some discussion going on in the play.
These guys need to get a talk show. They love to discuss out there.
UNCW fitting it in for the score, and this game is tied at 7.
You know, I love that. I love that cut from UNCW. You're going to see him. He was actually cutting up the line towards the back cone and actually stopped on a dime, changed his cut, and came back to the disc. You're going to see it. You're going to see the cutter go up line, actually stop, and just all you really got to do is beat that inside shoulder. Excellent job by UNCW, scoring the goal to make it 7-7.
Looks like we have another timeout on the field. This is a good time to give an advertisement for that Observers Talk Show, 8 a.m. Contest or no contest on the RSD network.
I contest.
Complete with accessory hand motions for why you're wrong. No, this is what you did. Recreations of travels, you bet.
So Brian, certainly there are some bid implications here on in this game. Are there other teams specifically that are looking to capture a bid for their region, specifically that might be underdogs, or just like they're really thinking that this is their time?
Yeah, for everybody, it's almost every game has so many implications that it's pretty crazy and hectic. And you're looking at, if we're looking at Pool A, we have Pittsburgh and Illinois and Florida in there. And Pittsburgh's fine, but Illinois can capture perhaps another bid if they do very well this weekend. A win over Pittsburgh in the next round for them would go a long way. And we're looking at Pool B, Wilmington, as we said, for the Atlantic Coast, or this is Pool C, Wilmington for the Atlantic Coast, UNCW or UNC in the Pool B, Atlantic Coast as well, and then Ohio in Pool B for the Ohio Valley. Penn State for the Ohio Valley, and then we have Michigan as well as with the Great Lakes along with Illinois. So it's almost like we have pairs of two here competing with each other to hopefully, they got their regional rival here who they're gonna hate in about 4 weeks when they go out to face off in May. But they're rooting for them right now to do well.
Yeah, that's actually an entirely different dynamic that this new ranking system has allowed to form. Is when teams from your region are playing, you root for them because you know that their victories actually help your region's strength and get you more bids. Then, of course, when you play against them, it's for seeding at regionals.
We've talked about UNCW loving the chippy play, and they thrive on the stoppages. They thrive on the controversy. And Central Florida is playing right into it. They're kind of adopting that attitude. And Wilmington, I think it's serving Wilmington well right now, 7-7. UCF having a chance to still take half. Best. Bettis. Not much move. There's no movement by the Cutters here from Central Florida. Not sure where to go. It looks like the absence of Freistatter is missed here.
Well, and really what I'm seeing is that UNCW played zone for the first half, for almost the entirety of the first half. And now that UNCW has gone man, UCF is used to that zone offense, just sort of staying stationary and not transitioning into their normal man offense.
Jim Paranella talking about in the ultimate techniques and tactics, sometimes zone is not used for that point, but to get teams out of their rhythm, and that's what it's done to UCF. Dieters with the disc. Trying to throw out the space, not available.
I just had a miscommunication there with his offensive player. It looks like he wound up so big on that backhand that he actually stopped his eye contact with his cutter. That throw can be a lot easier. It's just step and just flip it out into space. He had the advantage. Just let him run onto it. It doesn't need to be a rifle. You don't need to wind up so much.
Best getting it back.
Looks like they're talking about where the disc should actually be checked in.
Best goes over the top with no hesitation. Langdon back to Best, or to Bettis now. Now we're correct, Bettis. Finding cutter underneath. IO break to Langdon. Cutter's still not really initiating for Central Florida, and now overthrown. Lamar. Hill. Big layout by Hancock. And he put out the space too far. Wilmington, the crowd here urging them on. Sigh of, not relief, but a sigh after the overthrow.
As intense as this game has been, it's also getting a little bit sloppy. I mean, we had a hand block there on that hammer.
It has been sloppy, both teams. Not taking care of the disc very well at all. Wharton. Finding Nations. Nations coming back to handle. With a deep threat taken away, this wind. Normally UCF is a team known for trying to push it up. Foul called on the play.
Excellent handler defense there from UNCW, forcing the UCF handler to go downfield. Makes him actually come back to give it. The only dump option is the handoff, and in this case, it leads to a turnover.
Observers uphold the turnover. Hill going up to the disc. Another big possession here. Wilmington's had 2 chances at the end zone so far, trying to fit this one in. And again, Wilmington here has to dump swing. They have to reverse field in that situation instead of just trying to force it. That's the 3rd time in a row they've just bolted a pass past the receiver.
That's one of those adjustments that we were talking about, Brian. A coach, a captain, someone needs to recognize that that specific situation is happening over and over, and they need to make that adjustment.
It looked to
give
me,
themselves an opportunity for a goal.
Yeah, off the replay, it looked like the handler just was trying to get the disc back and wouldn't clear up the line, so allowing the front of the stack to come in for the easy break. And now UCF is getting another chance, but they've been just equally inept trying to work it up the field at this point in the game. Big collision there. Best, that actually out of here. Best getting concerned with the contact, but that's going to happen. Just a tight ultimate play.
I think there's tight ultimate plays, and this one was, he had 0 chance to make
True.
that deed. The offensive player was in front of him. He went directly into his back, not even making a play on the disc. I don't know if the observer ruled a TMF on that one. Certainly could have deserved one.
Looks like they weren't able to see it from the position they were in. And Best showing his frustration as another collision goes down.
That one didn't look malicious. Looked like he might have just tripped.
Put out the space for Wharton. Something available. Gotta like them to take that shot with Langdon, 6'2", junior. Foul call on the play. Looks like Best was able to get a hang on to that.
There's a lot of physicality going down in the middle of the field. Number 0-0 for UNC Wilmington is absolutely just wrapping up the handler for UCF.
Kevin Shea. Looks like, unless that's, according to our roster, that's 0, but maybe 00 could be different. Still a lot more stoppages here. This is what Wilmington wants. Up to Nations.
Crowd disappointed that that one didn't go up.
Langdon.
I haven't seen any hucking in this game so far.
Throw goes up. Grunts with the strip.
This one's getting ugly, Brian. It's not clean ultimate out here. It's certainly exciting to watch, but not pretty.
Back to Best. Bettis to Wharton.
Still nothing going on downfield for UCF. This is just 3-on-3, handlers against handlers.
It's on the goal line now. Squeezing it into Wharton for the goal and half. And Best slams his hat down in frustration, but they got this one. Wonder if that frustration will take over into the next half.
Yeah, Best earned that point. He got fouled. He stayed patient. He kept his team composed and really earned his team that goal.
And we'll be back with the second half action of part of Next Gen Network coverage of 2012 College Easterns. Thanks for listening in so far. And we're back here in the second half of Central Florida versus UNC Wilmington. Central Florida up a break, receiving out of half. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien, and we've seen an intense and chippy game so far.
Yeah, Slugfest. Slugfest 2012 Easterns.
A lot of fouls, a lot of stoppages, and that plays really into Wilmington's pocket, as we should say. Central Florida seems to be a bit more talented team, but as we know, talent doesn't just win games.
Yeah, apparently UNCW trying to win the game with their debate skills so far.
Hancock with the pole to get this second half started, and we are close to cap. Looks like this pole was never in. Well, not quite never in, but it looks like it was going to give UCF a short field.
So far, neither team has really been able to establish any type of offensive flow, especially UCF. Nothing that you would consider flow or easy offense. But that's been a credit to UNCW's defensive strategy.
And right off the bat, Central Florida with a mistake. Wilmington with a chance to get this game back on serve. Putting it deep to space, falling short. Central Florida moving it quickly. Bullock finding Langdon, can't make the catch along the sideline. Both teams trying to move it quickly here to take advantage. Looks like we're still seeing sloppy play, and not sure if the wind is picking up here in the second half. Best picking up the disc. Trying to go around. Fouled on the play, would have been a turnover.
UNCW typically plays with a really tight mark, and we've seen it multiple times that UCF handlers have tried to step through the mark and draw the foul.
But space for Best.
Best made a mistake there. He actually tried to start his cut before he threw it. He needs to take his time, make the right throw, and then start cutting.
Hill setting up the offense, horizontal stack. Hancock to Lamar. Going in underneath, gigantic bid by Quint Wharton. Known more for his offensive skills. Lamar. Call on the play, and as we have a break, just want to let you guys know today's game encoded by Elemental Technologies, providing video processing solutions to deliver streaming content to any screen, anytime, anywhere, and all at once.
Doing everything all at once. All right.
Hill. Not much available. Both teams scrapping for any yards available. Lamar dishes it back to Hill. Another big bid. This one looks late, though. Put up in the air. Collisions abound. And Wilmington comes up with it to tie this game at 8.
I tell you what, it's not how they draw it up, but it certainly is entertaining to watch.
Definitely not effective, but entertaining.
Hey, that's all we're looking for up here in the booth, I think, Brian.
And after all of this, these stoppages, we are tied at 8, and we're getting close to soft cap in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, both teams actually took about 15 to almost 20 minutes at halftime. And that's brought us up. We're about 15 minutes from the cap here already. You know, that bid that we just saw there for UCF has been typical of them all game. They've had huge bids, but that's because, like I said before, all they're doing is trying to stay close to their man. And they're staying 2 feet or 2 yards behind their man. And when UNCW makes a cut, by the time the disc is getting there, that's when they're making their bid. UCF, again, needs to anticipate where the cuts are going and just position themselves to be there first rather than trying to make a bid.
And we can talk about adjustments all we want for Central Florida, but it looks like this is more of a case of this. We have one-on-one matchups. The zone is done. Go out there and beat your man. Just execute. Just
execution.
They just need to make the right decisions and execute. There's not a strategic element here that we're too worried about. But as we say that, zone comes back into play. Best trying to direct traffic. Big mark thrown over the top. Hammer gets completed. Reedy, Langdon.
Wilmington's gone back to their 2-handler defender zone set.
Play resumes. Back to best. Nobody in the middle of the field. There's a ton of space right behind that wall of the zone. But Wilmington really playing man in some ways behind it and poaching. Now transitioning to man defense. We still have Wharton hanging out deep, and Lamar hasn't had to do much this entire point guarding him, and Best is back. Break to start things off, Reedy, but there's no continuation available. Ogren playing offense normally on the defensive line, foul call in the play.
See, that's what I'm talking about, Brian. A veteran player steps through and throws the disc and calls foul. He had a free opportunity to make a throw, and he should take it if he can.
Back to Best. Flip to Bullock. A lot of short passes. Eventually, you can't take the. It's better to set up a play here, go deep to one player, than take the risk of just completing 99 passes up the field. You might be 99% completion rate, but you get to that 100th pass. Thrown behind Ogren, and Wilmington with a chance to take the lead.
That was a really nice break throw there for Central Florida, but unfortunately, execution, again, the issue.
Looks like Allen grunts with the disc, putting it out to space. Finding Hancock can't make the grab in the end zone. And again, just contrasting the two offenses. UCF, bunch of passes to work it upfield. UNCW just goes back right down there, takes about 3 passes and has a chance.
But both of them have the same problem, drops and miscues.
All comes back to execution. Hammer to Wharton, hanging in the air. Wharton makes the grab. Finds Ogren, but nobody available. Back to Best. Thrown around to Langdon. Put out to space. Miscommunication there. And that is the soft cap. After this point, the game will be to 11. Hancock putting it deep. Defender gets the D. Reedy down on the play for UCF. Great position. Hancock just trying to take a shot.
Defender did a great job. Sealed off the offensive player. Didn't even allow him to make a play.
Reedy back to best. Reedy now being pushed back to the back of the end zone, unleashing the hammer. Looking around, finding Bullock. Tommy Lamar having the easiest job as defender, mostly hanging back there with Quint Wharton. Fatigue looks like it's starting to play a role, and would think that would affect Wilmington more so than Central Florida, but most of these players for Central Florida have been playing a lot of points. And we have a stoppage on the play.
Tell you what, you know who I've been really impressed with is Bullock for UCF. He is slicing and dicing with those throws. I think every time he touches the disc, he's looking for that inside-out forehand, and he's hitting it. A couple times his receivers have dropped it, but he is normally playing well. Unfortunately, maybe should have looked to the break throw instead of the open side throw on that one.
And UNCW gives it right back, overthrowing. Grunts. Timeout called on the play. Looks like no. Not sure. Nope, play is going to continue. Over to Bullock. It's the easy pass to Bettis. This one's put deep. Wharton against Lamar. Lamar with a height matchup. Comes down safely with it. Overthrown. This just resembles a pickup game right now. Put out the space. Ogren there makes the catch. Called in, and UCF scores to make it 9-8.
You know, they should celebrate. It took them a while to get that one.
It isn't pretty, but it worked that time.
It's on the scoreboard.
And looking at today's play of the game is brought to you by Aero Ultimate, the ultimate innovation company and creators of the Skylight. Aero Ultimate, unleash your ultimate potential. Online at aeroultimate.com. Callahan here by Tommy Lamar over Hickson. Big play in the first half to keep Wilmington close.
Here we are again. Timeout.
And we'll be right back. Next Gen Network's coverage of 2012 College Easterns. And we're back here in Wilmington, North Carolina. Tight game here. With Central Florida leading 9-8 over UNC Wilmington. Seen a tough physical game, sloppiness abound with a lot of turnovers, but Central Florida was able to convert on that upwind in the last possession.
Yeah, in games like this, it doesn't matter how you score the goal. You just got to score the goal. Both teams have sort of opened up out of, I don't know if out of their comfort zone, but certainly out of what they had been doing in the first half. We've seen quite a few more hucks, quite a few more itchy triggers, and it's made for exciting ultimate, maybe some ugly ultimate, but certainly entertaining.
Testing the mental fortitude of both teams. Lots of turnovers. You can easily get stuck in a rut. Hill. Looking for an option. Io to Lamar. Pivotal possession here. Game to 11 now with UCF in the inside track. McCurrick looking for the option downfield. Wanted it. Chose to better off holstering it. Finding Grunts. Put out the space over the top of the defender. Stall called on the play or a foul.
Nice little lefty backhand up the line for that completion. UNCW knocking on the door here to even it up at 9s. We are in the cap right now.
McCurrick finding his man wide open. 9-9, game to 11.
You know, and I hate to keep carping over the same things, but that once again, that's the UCF defender just totally staying too close to his man, not keeping in mind what he has to take away, and ends up just trailing his man to the open side. Crowd getting into it here at Wilmington. A little bit of home field advantage, would you call it?
Definitely home field advantage. Both at the wind and the zone really helped throw UCF out of a rhythm, I think, from early in the game. Also, the implications past this game in this tournament are still huge because this game is going to take a lot out of both teams mentally. Whoever loses this game is going to come out with frustration. They're going to be tired from the amount of they had to play tight lines throughout it. The fatigue is going to set in. And this may end up being for the pool because Central Florida already knocked off the team earlier today. Wilmington also winning. So they might have one game left where they have to face the top opponent. But still, this type of game early on in a tournament can set the tone for you through Sunday.
Absolutely, and that's another indicator of great teams is you can win games early in the tournament and you can also win games late in the tournament. That's what it takes to win a national championship.
Nine, first to 2 points, wins this one. Hancock, the pull, chops his backhand. This one will roll out. Wilmington have the advantage here. The wind is going directly against Central Florida, and I would have hopefully several opportunities to punch it in to gain the lead here and trade out to win this game. It starts out best.
UNCW playing a tight man-to-man defense.
I'm not sure if the fatigue has set in already. Lamar dishes to grunts, and this crowd is electric as UNCW takes the lead 10-9.
Best is not happy with himself. He knows that that one was simply on him. Leads to an easy goal and an easy break.
Sometimes you can just see that fatigue set in. That was a simple forehand. Cutter was open, and if you just not sure if he just didn't step out to throw that one, but when you get tired, it makes the simple stuff hard. And that's why it's also good for some teams to go out and have those long practices and train while they're tired, and to have that just mental capacity to know, okay, I still have to step out here. I still have to keep my form. And that can break down late in games. Central Florida needs to hold here. They did put Michael Hickson on the field. Matt Nation's also leaving the field, and now it's universe lines or nothing.
Hickson has been relatively quiet here in this abbreviated second half. And in the first half, he was really orchestrating the offense with his break throws. You know, obviously he's tall. People see him as a deep threat, but he was comfortable coming back and getting the disc. Hickson needs to be involved on this offensive possession for UCF.
The crowd urging Wilmington defense here to break to win. Reedy. Langdon bumping with Maxstat. Foul called on the play.
Now in this case, it looked like the handler was so active with his pivots that he wasn't even actually able to hit his cutter when he was open. Sometimes over pivoting can actually hurt you.
Hickson finding Reedy in the end zone for the score. Holding here, and we go to Universe Point.
We've had some exciting games here on field number 1 at Easterns, and this one is coming down to the line as well. UCF will be pulling to UNC Wilmington for the game. For UNCW here, if you're the coach, you're saying, hey guys, no big deal. We're in control of the game. We've had a couple points this game where we've been unchallenged for goals. Let's just, everyone just go and do their job. Let's execute our cuts fundamentally. Let's make smart and easy decisions because we've had open throws all game. Now we just have to execute.
And on the other side of the coin, if you're Central Florida, it's been a frustrating long game. I want my guys jacked up here, ready to go get a D. And one job to do, get that turnover, and then try to squeeze it in. And here also, Mishka Freistatter is sorely missed. He's a 6'8" target for a 50-50 shot. Would be great to have at this point in the game. Central Florida comes out with a solid upwind pull to Mike McCurrick, finding Lamar. Back to Maxstat. Grunt's overthrown, and there's the turnover Central Florida needed.
And here we see it again, an open receiver, poor execution. Central Florida with a chance for the break and the win.
John Best, a chance to get redemption after his turf forehand. Put into play, puts it deep. Hickson is there, hanging in the air. And this one staying out of bounds. Go from UCF having a chance to win it with one shot, and now Tommy Lamar will take over with a short field. Next that is open, but trying to fit it in under space. Foul called on the play.
And again, I don't know if we're going to get a look at this one again, but what you're going to see, if we do, you're going to see Tommy Lamar just take his eyes off his defender. Look, he turns all the way, throws it right into the defender. There was really no spot for him to throw into.
Looks like the foul was on the follow-through nonetheless. It's staying with Lamar. Wind is starting to pick up even more. About the space, and McCurrick with a drop, just looking too far ahead. Nixon coming back in Best, putting it up to space, makes the grab. Pick called on the play.
Central Florida right now in a vertical stack, but still not a lot going on downfield.
Hickson had space downfield, now choosing to come back underneath. Best. North Carolina switching through.
Looks like North Carolina's actually got a flat mark going on right now, and they're forcing everyone out downfield.
Wilmington needs to find a way to get a D, and Central Florida trying to be patient and work it up against this wind. Over to Best, just through the defender's hands. Bettis to Best. One shot for the win, and he calls a timeout. Not sure about that call. You had Central Florida, you had Wilmington on the ropes a bit. Let your handler movement go for one more, and if there's nothing available, you can set up a play about stall 5. But either way, you're going to have one chance at the end zone.
Right. I mean, if you have momentum, you keep playing. And if not, I think the timeout call is okay here. Make sure you get exactly the look that you want. You've got the disc in the hands of a confident handler. Let's isolate, either isolate your first cutter off the disc getting tapped in, or get a swing and then isolate that cutter. No reason not to take every precaution in this case.
It's hard to come down in this situation. It's hard for things to come down on it right here. One slip by a defender, and this game can be over. But you still wonder what UCNW is going to show. UNCW, not UCNW. It's going to show. They've been showing a lot of zone near the end zone. Been pretty confident. And it looks like we may see something similar once again. Grunts on the mark.
Wilmington set up sort of a poachy zone here against Florida, against UNC Florida. Sorry, against UCF here. Too many U's and C's.
And we're back in Best. Finds Hickson, no, turnover. Armahar picks it up, puts it deep for Grunts, can't make the grab. And Central Florida is going to have to work this one back up once again. And Best picks it up real quick. Thankfully, Ogren is back. Otherwise, it would have been a while. Langdon. Back to Ogren. Cutter underneath. Back to Hickson. Not bad. Best. Up in the air for Langdon, floating. Wilmington looks tired. Grunts looks fatigued on the field. Put it out to space. Can he run it down? Makes the grab. Quint Wharton with the grab, and Central Florida wins 11-10.
And this is a tough one to swallow if you are UNCW. You had multiple opportunities for the win. I'm going back a couple points ago when they had 2 or 3 drops in the red zone for the win. And here they had multiple opportunities again and still not able to come up with the victory. This is a tough one to swallow for UNCW. And certainly give the credit to UCF. They put the pressure on all game and were able to grind out this victory.
And it looks like Wilmington may suffer the consequences of playing tight lines and the fatigue later on, being forced to play in a crossover game later on tonight at 6 p.m. But we have Georgia versus Stanford coming up in our next pool play game, 1 versus 2. I'm Brian Jones here with Mario O'Brien. Thanks for listening in to Next Gen Network's coverage of 2012 College Easterns.